John O'Groats Strongest Man 2023, another open comp. This one was 7 events long, which was a long day. I've got 6 events worth of footage to show you through. Starting off with event number 1, which is a 320 yoke, which is a comp PB weight there, and into a 200 tire drag, which I had trained for with a sled, and it did not translate well into this. Event number 1, the yoke, so it was a 320 yoke, but it was super off balance. So you can see the anchor chain that's like welded to the middle of the yoke. So it really tested your core. It was like if you didn't get the balance right, it just spat you out. So it was pretty solid, even though one drop, but once I got the hang of the balance of it, it moved fine. The 200 drag, so I trained dragging more than this, I think 250 in the gym, but that's turf and a sled. The tire, what I never accounted for was how much it was going to stick to the ground. There was so much traction on this tire, it was unreal, and I just didn't have the weight to the body weight to pull, and I just couldn't get purchase on the ground. Probably didn't help I was wearing flat shoes. Turned out the trick was to get really close into the tire and pull the rope pretty much right on the tire, so you were lifting it up, causing less drag, less friction on the ground, and drag it that way. I was getting that shouted at me, but I couldn't think or hear anything at the time. I was just trying to move that tire. Yeah, so I didn't finish this event. I got the time for the yoke, and I maybe got, I don't know, 3 or 4 meters with the tire there. Event number 2 was the giant log. This thing looked insane. So it was just so much wider than a normal log. So your normal log is like, I can't even think, maybe 14 inches, 12 inches, something. This log was like twice the size. Even though it was a dull day, when you got into the rack position, your head was so far back and you're just staring into the sky, so it's quite disorientating as well. It was a 110 kilogram log, which I had lifted before, but this was a rep PB, I believe. Getting 3 reps on this giant log was pretty good. I did go for the 4th rep, but I just did not have it in me to put that 4th one up. It was a cool implement to lift though, and I'm glad I got a shot on it. It's not likely to come across that one again. Event number 3 was a 4-ton truck pull. Now it's difficult to tell from the video, but this was like slightly uphill. It was on gravel. I don't know the pressure on the tires, and I don't know if they had the handbrake on, but I've since done a 10-ton truck pull that was flat, and even with pressure out of the tires, it felt damn sight easier. I mean, it's like a year and a half, 2 years apart, but this just felt, I remember this feeling insanely difficult, and it just kept going forever. It took me 42 seconds to move this truck 20 meters, and yeah, it was a tricky one to train for as well. It usually is, unless you've got access to a truck, because even on the track with a sled and a rope and setting it up the same way and pulling, you don't get any momentum, so it's always the first pull, or always feeling like a first pull. So the more you load it up, it's not really the same as this. Even so, I didn't gas out. I was pretty happy with that, and managed to complete it all the way. Forearms were on fire, legs were on fire, back, this just takes everything out of you. Luckily the rain didn't affect the platform too much, so was I able to slide back and forth and get my full body involved in it. Event number 4, strongman squat. Now, at the time I was not friends with squat. I did not enjoy doing them, hated it very much. I was relieved that this was not powerlifting style, it's strongman style, so you're only coming down to parallel, touching pads and coming back up. Looking back on this, it actually doesn't look too parallel, but angles and all that, plus they set the height, not me, for this, and they okayed it. So you had the option between a 220 and a 250 squat. I went with the 220, played it safe, and got, what did I get, like 4 reps out of this, 5 reps. I probably could have pushed this further, but I just wanted this event to be over. I kind of knew where my placing was by this time. Still had 3 events to go, so yeah, did what I did on this and moved on. Event number 5, I do not have the footage of. It was a Husfeld sandbag carry around the circle in the middle where we're competing in, essentially the town's roundabout. This Husfeld bag was massive. It was 160 kilo. And now I'd done the Husfeld carry before with the replica stone at 140, and it had got 50.9 meters at the Scotland's qualifiers before, so I knew that I could carry it. But this, it was so awkward to pick up. So if you picked it up too high, which you would think is better because it gives you more clearance on the legs, but it just crushed your chest, and it was just very dizzy and passy outy. So that was not an option, and too low, and it would just kill your legs. You wouldn't get any movement. So it was kind of somewhere awkwardly in the middle. It was so wide, it was difficult. You couldn't get hands around to clasp, or even get fingers together unless you had a massive wingspan. So it was kind of a case of hugging it and just folding the hands round the front, and yeah, just holding on for as long as you could whilst you walked around in the circle that we were walking around. So you started kind of at the top, and then as you went round, it went downhill. Because it was a circle as well, you were going downhill and then back up. You had to constantly keep checking to the side to see that your foot was, you were still at the circle, because you don't want to come too far away from it, because it wouldn't do you any favours distance wise. So yeah, it was a bit awkward. I think I got almost 1 full rotation round, and then that was me. Event number 6, the deadlift machine. So this was a weird one. It's kind of set up like a car deadlift on a lever, but it was front handle, so like a normal deadlift bar, a little bit higher, kind of about maybe mid-shin, just below knee. But the way it was built, the tire was so far forward that you couldn't sink your hips properly into the deadlift. So it was a weird starting point. You felt like you were tipped forward a little bit as well, which I didn't like. But I got up to 300 kilo on this. I think it either started at 240 or 260, and then they added weight in every completed lift. I think it was 4 lifts in, and I got to 300. There was only 1 more after that I didn't get. So I was pretty happy with that, to be honest, because it was not an ideal setup. And finally, the last event number 7, the power stairs. It was still raining at this point. It was super wet. I did not have boots or anything on me, so I actually borrowed one of the other competitors. These 3 weights, it was basically ship chain welded together with a handle on top, and it was gnarly. There was a couple of people got cuts because there was bits of jaggy metal on the bottom of the handles. But this was a 185 kilogram weight, a 225 and a 250. I took it kind of easy to start with because I didn't really have anywhere to train for this before, so I was kind of just lifting weights onto a tire and back off again, so basically just doing the first step all the time. But these steps were so narrow and these weights were so deep that the pick was difficult. So I took it easy on the 185, but it went fine. Which gave me a bit of hope. Went back down, got the 225, and got up to the last step, and I just couldn't get an angle on lifting it to be able to get over that lip. So even though the weight wasn't a problem, I couldn't get a solid footing on that last step to get enough leverage, enough drive to pick that up, put it over the last one. So I never got an attempt on the third one. A little bit disappointed with that, but what can you do? Everybody was on the same boat. Some people managed to do it. So yeah, that was John O'Groats, Strongest Man 23.